So this programmer's dramatic protest, burning crypto and embedding his messages into the blockchain, was his way of forcing the world to listen to him. Let's take a look at what he was trying to tell us. One, he has said neural technology is no longer about helping humans. It's being weaponized. It's used to control people, turn them into digital slaves. The technology makes people obey orders like robots with zero independent thought or free will. Uh, and then, two, he's a victim. But here's a twist. He said the company's big bosses are also victims and they're under brain control by someone else, which begs the question, who is really in control? Um, According to Hu Lezhi, the brain control technology isn't limited to just this one company. It's already being used in the military and it's being rolled out worldwide. So, what's the real truth behind all this? What kind of danger are the Chinese people actually facing? Is the Chinese government secretly running massive brain control projects? Chilling thoughts, right? So now let's get to the topic. Let's talk about this article that was published in 2012 by the Institute of Radiation and Radiation Medicine at the Academy of Military Medical Sciences of China. So the title of this paper is called The Establishment of a Consciousness Control Weapon and Behavioral Imaging Database. The paper discussed the use of behavioral science to conduct research on offensive mind control weapons and the need for a behavioral database for such weapons. The paper detailed how these weapons could manipulate vision, hearing, touch, taste, smell, emotions, subconscious, even dreams. It said these tools could induce anger, fear, shame, regret, basically keep someone in a constant state of psychological distress. Even scarier is that the paper talked about identifying target populations, creating behavioral databases, and categorizing control tools into offensive and defensive weapon libraries for military applications. But the question is, to create such databases, where are these experiments conducted and who are the subjects of the experiment, right? So who make up the databases? Well, the answer is the tens or the hundreds of millions of Chinese. The CCP started it. Now, let me talk about the history of CCP's brain control weapon. The CCP started its R&D on brain control weapons as early as the 1960s during the Cultural Revolution. A scientist by the name of Jiang Kanzhen, actually, let me show a picture of him. There we go. This was from the 1960s. He conducted experiments or such experiments and co-authored a book called The Secrets of Bioelectromagnetic Waves, Field Conduction Discovery. Actually, here's a picture of the book. The book is on the left, and there's an article he published way back when, authored by him. There was a picture of him. It was from an old newspaper back then. So his experiments primarily involved visual information transmission. So his experiment is the following. So when he imagined a shape such as a circle or a scene like climbing a mountain, his colleague would also visualize the same shape or scene in their mind. And when they switched roles, the same effect occurred. John saw the images his classmate or his colleague had imagined in his own mind. And he repeated this type of experiment more than 2,000 times, achieving an accuracy rate of around 70%. Building on this and applying principles of radio wave theory, he designed and built an electromagnetic wave lens, which increased the success rate or accuracy rate of human electromagnetic communication experiments to 95%. So building on John's experiments, the CCP developed devices capable of controlling specific human organs, uh, uh, meaning the brain, um, mostly the brain, during that time. I mean, during the Cultural Revolution, from the late 1960s into the 1970s. The earliest known cases of such a victim, or the earliest known case of a victim of such experiments, was one of China's most renowned physicists, Professor Ye Qi-sun, who was called the father of China's physicists. Here we go. Here's a. By the way, I've already copied the links of my references in the description, so you can read them if you want. So here's Mr. Ye Qi-sun, who is the father of Chinese physicists. He has taught and nurtured dozens of leading Chinese physicists during his time. And in 1968, at the age of 70, he was arrested by the CCP in connection with an alleged Kuomintang spy group. He spent a year and a half in prison. I think he was later sent back to labor camp again. But anyway, after he was, maybe right around the time after he was released from the prison, he began experiencing auditory hallucinations, believing that he was monitored by a radioactivity. So he said, this is what he said. He said, every move I make gets a response. If I take a sip of tea, the radio says my drinking the tea was wrong. If I step outside, the radio orders me to go back in immediately. But people who were close to him thought he went crazy. His nephew felt sorry for him and said, "You study physics. You know radio waves can pass through walls. This isn't real. It's a hallucination." But the scientist replied, "It is real. You are just deaf. You cannot hear it." Most people who knew the professor said that he was mentally ill. Experts now believe that the professor was targeted by brain control weapons using silent audio transmission and thought decoding. The type of attack employs ultrasonic modulation technology, allowing a person to hear sounds directly in their ears without using headphones and without others noticing. And there's another renowned Chinese who experienced this, and that's the famous poet Ai Qing. He was also a victim of brain control weapons. He wrote a book about his imprisonment during the Cultural Revolution, in which he described a strange and unexplained phenomenon of psychological manipulation. So in his mind, he repeatedly saw a talking dog, a dog that talked, an entity that pressured him, threatened him to submit, and caused him to experience auditory hallucinations and visual distortions. And after the Cultural Revolution ended, Ai Qing tried to investigate the matter through official channels, but he found nothing. It was a mystery that was never solved because Ai Qing never had any mental issues or mental health issues throughout his life. What the poet experienced was a form of deep-level thought decoding and visual image input directly into the brain, a type of brain control abuse. And this was the old technology from the 1970s. Today, there are already advanced technologies that use microwaves to transmit sound directly into the brain. Experts say that China has already developed methods to transmit thoughts and psychological information using the principle of brainwave resonance, and this is commonly referred to as the artificial telepathy. And today, this kind of brain control technique has advanced to the point where operators tune microwave emissions to the resonance frequency of the targeted visual cortex or thalamus, enabling even more precise and targeted control. In some cases, the signal can be amplified to increase effectiveness. A long-term victim, Yao Duojie, here I have a picture. He wrote a book called My Life is No Longer My Own. And he said that he had been selected as a live experimental subject for secret brain control weapons as early as 2007, when he worked as a manager of security at a five-star hotel. And it started as just noises in his head. And he recalled that when his grandfather passed away, he felt a deep grief, but his facial expression uncontrollably twisted into a smile. And also, while traveling with his younger brother on a boat, he experienced something terrible. As they both stood on the deck of a cruise ship, he was suddenly overcome by an uncontrollable urge to pick up his brother and throw him into the ocean. He immediately clutched the handrail tightly to resist the thought. And terrified that he might lose control, he told his brother to return to the cabin. Mr. Yao said that he didn't know that he was being targeted by brain control weapons until the controlling agent told him so. Right? So people usually don't know what they were experiencing. But in his case, the party or the agent that's controlling the voices in his head actually told him so. And then he tried to use devices to block the signals. He tried to buy various signal blocker or blocking devices, but he said that those electromagnetic wave blockers simply cannot block bioelectric signals. And he said many of the victims aren't aware of what has happened to them. So this case is just one of many. There are countless similar examples. In recent years, a large number of people across China have come forward claiming to be victims of brain control weapons. Many of them say they first became aware of being targeted after experiencing voices inside the skull. So here I want to share with you some of them. So here you have Mr. Xu Chao from, I think, Zhejiang, and then you have this Dai Pei. And this man, Yang Mingquan, I mean, and this mother is calling to stop the persecution on his son. His son, Yang, is being targeted. And so here you have people gathering, holding signs to say that says, we're victims of China's brain control weapons. And then you see these banners, people holding banners in Guangxi, Fujian, Guangdong, Jiangxi, all saying that they are victims. They're asking the government to investigate into these cases and their victims. And then you have people from Liaoning, Zhejiang, Heilongjiang, Yunnan. So all over China, people are, and here you have people protesting. This is May 2020 in Guangdong. So according to Mr. Yao, hold on, let me see. Is there something wrong? Oh, no, sorry. I saw Chris is reminding my microphone is not working. No. Mr. Yao said victims come from at least 19 provinces and 3 direct municipalities. The onset of their experiences range from year 2000 to recent years, and their ages range or span from children to the elderly. and covering people from all walks of life. And their reported symptoms show common patterns. So they hear voices in their minds, often 24 hours a day, subjecting them to humiliation, insults, or even commands to self-harm. And they're forcibly overwhelmed with negative emotions such as sadness, fear, and despair. They experience involuntary, repeated recollections of past mistakes, embarrassing moments, or sexual encounters, some real, some possibly fabricated. They're forced into negative artificial dream states. And they suffer unexplained physical symptoms such as muscle twitches, inability to concentrate, disorientation, tightness or pain in the chest, and also strange auditory sensations like buzzing, electric humming, or sounds. Some cannot sleep at night due to the interference. And people around them often assume that they suffer mental health issues. So as a result, many victims are left feeling isolated and helpless. I don't know if this is one of the reasons that have contributed to the sharp increase in the number of people being sent to psychiatric hospitals for treatment. So now let me talk about what an expert said, because this is extremely important. So in 2001, here are some of the posters that these victims have put up across China to raise awareness of what's happening to them. So now let me talk about the scale of the problem. So I think it was in 2001, Chen Yizhang, the president of the Chinese Neuroscience Society, revealed the secrets of CCP's brain control programs in an essay. So he said, this is what he wrote. He said, over a decade ago, when this program had just begun implementation, I wrote an article opposing it. My colleague, Dr. Deng Zibing, put it even more bluntly in the May 1st, 2001 edition of Southern Weekend on page 6. Southern Weekend is 南方周末. And so this is what he quoted Dr. Deng. This is what they say. Those who control this technology will be able to control us, dominate us, know what we're going to do before we do it, and know what we've done after the fact. As the technology continues to improve, it will ultimately reach the point where we will do whatever they want us to do. We're witnessing the rise of a phantom of spiritual interrogation haunting the land. Our pursuit of truth will be subordinated to some quote-unquote higher social value, and facts will be extracted from weakened and manipulated consciousness. Every such technology represents a violation of privacy and freedom of will. Because it can detect what you're thinking and doing at any moment. Your thoughts, memories, and behavior are no longer private. 2, it can interact with you directly through your brain, even extracting your memories and mimicking your voice in real-time dialogue. 3, it can forcibly implant dreams and control dream content. 4, it can make you smell artificially generated odors. 5, it can transmit its own intent into your mind during intense stimulation, controlling both your thoughts and behavior. 6, it can mentally and physically torture you using various methods. If this system doesn't activate the interaction or torture mode, you may never even realize it exists inside you. But the most terrifying part isn't just the functions listed above. It's the fact that tens of millions of citizens are already being monitored 24/7, and most of them have no idea. The real goal of the operator or operators is to monitor these people, not just to test the technology. Among those unknowingly monitored, the majority are males aged 15 to 55, with a higher concentration in urban populations. The technology is now spreading into rural areas. In terms of profession, the main targets include mid and low-level government officials and civil servants, mid and low-ranking military officers and regular soldiers, teachers and students at universities and high schools, intellectuals, and some ordinary citizens. And it went on to say, why don't most of the monitored individuals realize it? First, the implementation process is extremely secretive. Second, the technology is wireless, so there's no physical sensation. And yet, their thoughts and memories are being fully intercepted and recorded. In other words, whatever you think or do, they already know. And it went on to say, in 1996, China became a member of the Human Brain Project, a global initiative involving 21 countries. Today, most of those countries possess this technology, but for various reasons, they are unwilling to admit it. If anyone brings it up, the topic is either suppressed or distorted. Because the use of such technology is deeply anti-human and serves only those who control it. And it went on to say, the nations have even signed a quasi-Munich agreement regarding the regulation or the restriction of this technology. So it says, science is a double-edged sword, a force that can drive human progress, but also a tool that may accelerate humanity's destruction. So the above is what Mr. Chen wrote. I mean, he wrote other things, but this is kind of the parts that I quoted. So in the past 20 years, the CCP has been pushing for the advancement of its brain control weapons. In September 2002, that's 23 years ago, 22 and a half years ago, more than 40 leading Chinese experts gathered in Beijing's Xiangshan to discuss their brain research. I think it's kind of the main kickoff event from 22 years ago. At that meeting, the experts highlighted China's unique advantage, which is, in their words, we have abundant human brain resources. I guess we now know what they meant. And in 2015, the China Brain Project was approved by the State Council and designated as a major scientific and technological project crucial to the country's future development. In 2016, brain science and brain-like research was included in China's 13th five-year plan as one of its key scientific innovation initiatives. In early 2017, it was listed as a pilot project under the National Science and Technology Innovation 2030 major projects, and planning for its implementation officially began. Regarding the military application of this field, the official news portal of the PLA published an article in February 2017 titled, Control Over the Brain, the Crown Jewel of Warfare Supremacy. And it says, human beings are the decisive factor in the outcome of war. If one can control the brain and seize control over it, the victory can be achieved without fighting. We must establish military strategies and national security systems centered around the brain as the core element in order to prevent threats before they arise. In June 2018, China Military Online published another article titled, Future Wars May Begin in the Cerebral Cortex. Do you know about brain control weapons? The article stated that every person's brainwave fingerprint, right, the fingerprint of our brainwave is unique. By collecting this unique neural signature and storing it in a computer, and then decoding excuse me. Oh. All right, where are we? the article from 2018. Right. So the article stated that everyone's brainwave, um, the fingerprint, I guess the footprint that our brainwave leaves behind is unique. And by collecting this unique neural signature and storing it um, in a computer, and then oh, and then decoding visual, auditory, linguistic, and emotional neural activity using special translation software, mind reading is effectively achieved, right? So it's by interpreting this footprint or fingerprint left behind by our brainwave that the technology is able to read our mind. And then on January 15th, 2019, the Chinese state media outlet Xinhua reprinted an article from China National Defense News titled "The Winning Technology, the Winning Strategy of Brain Control Weapons." The goal of brain control weapons is not to destroy the enemy's body, but to conquer their will. This means the path to victory in war is shifting from destruction to manipulation. The article emphasized that the latest brain control technologies do not require implanting chips into the brain. Media such as electromagnetic waves, light, sound, and even smells can be used to carry out mind control. So some of you might remember back in May 2018, staff members at the U.S. consulate in Guangzhou reported suffering from a sonic attack. Remember that in 2018? And then in late 2016, U.S. diplomats and CIA officers based in Havana began reporting symptoms, including persistent headaches, dizziness, hearing loss, brain fog, vision problems, sleeping disturbances. Some say that they heard strange high-pitched sounds coming from certain parts of the room. And shortly afterward, they began feeling ill. So could these be the cases of some sort of neurological attack? Here's an article from August 2020 called "The Brain Control Weapons in the Cradle." It's on the PLA's website. It was actually in print in PLA Daily, and then the image is captured from the website. Now, imagine tens of thousands of PLA soldiers trained in weaponry. Let me just come back. This is from me. This is not from the article. So just imagine tens of thousands of PLA soldiers trained in weaponry, but stripped of emotions and feelings. They're all turned into mindless killing machines. What does that mean to the rest of the world? And imagine millions or tens of millions of Chinese citizens willingly following party orders, donating money, sending their children to the front lines. Imagine thousands of foreign intelligence officers, generals, or even national leaders betraying their own countries because their minds are not their own. What I want to say is when technology develops without any moral constraint, when human morality declines faster than the speed of its technological advances, technologies become dangerous. They can eventually destroy us or turn us all into digital slaves. Because those who control the technology want to play the role of God. So what are we going to do? Well, I think humanity's only way out is faith. I think those who have true faith will not be controlled. Advanced technology cannot control people's true spirit connected with the divine. And I think science will soon prove this. And because of that, I remain optimistic about our future. And I don't think uh, many of us, I do not think the chances for this technology to actually develop into actual weaponry that will control our mind, I think is very small. As long as we hold on to the divine. That's all. Uh, it's a very troubling topic. I mean, I'm just presenting you a small fraction of what I found. It's unbelievable of how much this has been discussed amongst the Chinese within the Chinese community. Like, didn't they train the children in the beginning to hate other races and people like Japanese? Yeah, the schools are doing that to Chinese children, which is very sad. But that's curriculum. That's academic curriculum. That's not brain control weapons. Okay, here's forwarded by Chris. From John John S. Lay always ahead of the media. Well, thank you for the comment. Well, this happened in February. On February the 17th. I'm surprised. Now we're a month later. I'm surprised that no media talked about it. Could you imagine a Chinese burning nearly $10 million? I doubt that the cryptocurrencies were his. I think this person is just, it could be his company's. I don't know, but he burned almost close to $10 million just to get his messages across. Mike Stewart. Well, thank you, Mike. All right. Okay, let's see. Here's one from Jianju69, forwarded by Chris. How could the brain be influenced by these waves? Just discomfort? How I skipped the parts. I mean, I really studied the science of it today. But then it's too long and too detailed. I think it will probably make you fall asleep. So I skipped that part. But it was you're asking how could the brain be influenced by these waves? Um, oh, you're asking discomfort? Well, obviously, yeah. These people in the beginning, like the man who wrote the book, he said that in the beginning he didn't realize it was some kind of a. He just felt very weird that he heard these noises in his mind constantly. But he never suspected that he's the target of some kind of external control until the voice told him. Until the voice told him that he's being controlled. Then he realized it. Most people would just think that there's something wrong with them because they kept hearing these voices. And then these voices, are very strong. And they can also, so they felt that this is their normal psychic or hallucination. And that's the scary part. But some people knew it was abnormal. There's one man, what was his name? Yang? Was that it was the gentleman who had a handwritten note next to his picture. He said that his problem was he was not able to go to sleep at night. He constantly have dreams, and those are not real dreams. Those are fake dreams. He could tell, so he couldn't sleep, and which is really bad. And he knew it was not natural. He knew he was under some kind of influence. It's not the type of dream that you would normally have. Someone asked, is this related to Havana syndrome, you think? Supposedly it was Russia. I don't know. It might be, right? People say during 2016 and 2018, those that time frame, it was really the time when the CCP was, was in an overdrive mode in experimenting these weapons, the 2016 and 2018. So they say the timing of those two events, one in Guangzhou in China, one in Havana, actually coincided with CCP's um, experimentation of the technology or the weapons. Okay. All right. I mean, someone said, I'm just shocked to see the number of people protesting this in China. That's didn't know that. I mean, if you look at the banners, the pictures I shared with you, the number of people who actually were holding out banners in China, um, the banner all says, we are victims of brain control weapons, and they want justice. They want the government to investigate into this. And it was shocking to see that. Yeah. Okay. All right. That's all. I reached the bottom. Havana was directed microwave energy weapons. Where can we find the science on this? Um, Check on the links. I provided a couple of references. But they're all in original Chinese. Some of them very detailed, and they're written by experts. You can read them. So take a look. I specifically provided the sources. All right. Okay. Great hair, beautiful. Okay, this is, yeah. I purposely wear something light and happy for this awful subject. And here is my mini orchid. All right. Here's a question from Fu Clark. Similar to the alien abduction in US, just minus the butt probes. Are they similar? I'm not so sure if they're similar, but they're different in nature. This one, I mean, the alien abduction, this is done by extraterrestrials, and this is done by the government. Uh, Joni asked me, how can we protect ourselves? I think it's faith in the divine. That's true energy that these bioelectrical waves cannot penetrate. And I think science will prove that.